almost stopping the boat. They don't want to be over early. And it looks like one might be drifting across, but it is go in this first round match between Denmark and Poland. The positions you do not want to be in are first and fourth, because then it's a draw and you will lose.
One with another one.
Swiss will get the win.
Yeah. Roxy Jr. just penalized Kwabi. Kwabi dropping down. Now it's time. It's Susie attacking Moonflower. No, she missing Roxy Jr.
Yeah, very interesting battle in first downwind. We saw the whole fleet coming to that first windward mark, very closely packed, all next to each other.
Piccolo's Captain General in the wind shadow, Alec. A battle has come.
And General hasn't found the wind at all yet. He's so slow. He's a knot slower than the Swede. All he's got now is his right of way, and it's a penalty.
To General. Hello and welcome to all of you fantastic e-sailing fans and sailing fans sitting out there around the world. And tonight it is around the world, and I'm not going to introduce and do everything myself tonight. Of course I have, somebody says, my second wife with me, because I'm seeing him a lot at the moment. Please welcome Alec Wilkinson.
It's my wife who says that, actually, rather generously. Welcome. Good evening if you're in Europe, and a very good morning if you're watching in Japan. We have got a cracking quarterfinal. It is Spain, arguably the top team in the world, and certainly seeded #1 in the eSailing Nations Cup, up against one of the smallest but most passionate e-sailing countries in the world, in Japan. And by the end of tonight, we will know all the semi-finalists. So let's have a look at the draw. Yep, this is the final quarterfinal, the last quarterfinal. Spain against Japan. You can see it on the left-hand side of the screen. And already we know that Denmark are through. So whoever wins this quarterfinal will face Denmark in the semi-finals. And then on the right-hand side, the other semi-final will be Great Britain against Italy.
Yeah, and Alec, it's quite funny because we're going to have this fantastic format, eSailing Nations Cup format, and it's getting so much good feedback out there, because finally in an esport we are fighting nation versus nation, and it's not one person from a nation, it's actually a nation, and they're going to do 9 rounds, 10 versus 10 in a 49er, 1 versus 1 in a female match race in the Star. Then we have 5v5 laser, and then we have 6 more other races coming up. But Alec, one thing you just said, you said the most passionate team, Japan, versus one of the strongest teams in the world, Spain. But we actually also have 2 cultures that are very known of gaming. Let's start meeting the Japanese team captain, Vegas.
Vegas, sitting in Tokyo right now. Tell us a bit about your team.
Okay, Team of Japan consisted from a wide range of people in the ages from like 40s to 50s, and the youngest from like 20s. And the experience level is pretty spread out also. Half of them are pretty experienced, 2 or 3 years, and half just started like half a year ago. So it's kind of good mix, I think.
Who's the most experienced?
I should say Sean Bond. He had 3 years, 3 years of experience. Yeah.
And what about you, Vegas? How long have you been playing? And are you a real sailor as well?
Yes, I'm a real sailor. I started eSailing about 6 months ago, I think. I started competing. Well, I had an account longer than that, but I started competing 6 months ago. And I am a real sailor. I used to sail Optis, 470s, Snipe, and I'm now sailing classic dinghies right now.
Okay. And you're a kite boarder as well, aren't you? Hence
Yeah.
the name Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So listen, you guys knocked out France. No one believed that was possible beforehand. How did you do it? At what point did you think, we could actually win this?
Well, I think there's 2 points, key points in winning. And well, first of all, we were surprised also. But yeah, we had very high-skilled individuals like Sean Bond, KGR, and of course Seamanship. She's very competitive female player. And we had a little bit of gamble because we, as a resource, we don't have abundant resource, so we have to concentrate our resource on the races. So I think that laser, the winning in laser, was very key for us.
Yeah. And you mentioned Seamanship. Tell me about her, because she was very important in 3 pivotal races. Tell us more about her.
Seamanship, she's a university student, and she's also a teammate with KGR. So KGR first started, I think he started 1 year, 1 and a few months ago. 1 year and a few months, and Seamanship started like 8 months. So KGR started, and then she joined to play, and they were competing each other. So she got very high skills also.
Cool. So you all helped each other develop. That's great, and that's the trick, really. It's teamwork. And what will be the trick? How are you going to beat Spain?
Well, we have to rely on the individuals, and well, we're doing another gamble about concentrating the resource on the other race, I think, for this time, because Spain already know how we did in laser and that kind of free races. So yeah, we're doing different kind of gamble this time.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you won't tell me what the gamble is, so I won't ask. But good luck, Vegas, and we'll try and work out for ourselves what your strategy will be.
Okay, thanks.
So it is 6 minutes past 5 in the morning in Tokyo, where Vegas is right now. Oh, now, is that an advantage or a disadvantage, Thomas?
Oh, we saw last time that the Japanese players was much more fresh than the French players because it's late night in Europe, but now they're playing Spain, and Spain actually used to have late dinner and go late to bed. So
yeah.
Is it an advantage today?
The day's just starting in Spain.
Yeah, it's just started in Spain. And while we're saying that, it's amazing to see how fresh the Japanese were. they were the first to be all 10 players in the servers. Right now we are missing one Spanish player. And I spoke with the team captain we are going to meet later today, Carlos Paz from the Spanish team. And he was in his holiday house. And he said, I have so bad internet here, Thomas, that I'm really glad I'm not going to play tonight. So.
And that is actually, it's amusing, but it's also a really telling point, because don't you think it's incredible that the Spanish have such quality and depth, such a huge team of such experienced and quality players, that the captain can say, hey, I'm not going to play because I've got better players who can take my place.
Yeah. And now the last player is coming in, but let's just keep that one up. When we're going into it and we're talking about it, Alec, it's amazing. It's two gaming cultures playing against each other. And you just say, hey, the Spanish are so many. Yeah, they are maybe having 100 players they could put into this team tonight, where the Japanese only have 13. And they only 13 playing it in a competitional level. So that's the difference of the two countries. Let's go in, Alec, to the first race of tonight.
So race number 1 of 9, it's in the 49er, and the first and the last race in this format sees all the players in the race together. So we've got 20 boats out there, 20 seconds to go, 10 against 10 in the 49er. As for the actual course, well, it's the same course we've followed throughout. It's 2 upwind, 2 downwind legs to the finish. Right, here we go, and they're all mixed up here, and the Spanish seem to be bunching up on this right-hand side next to the committee boat, and a few Japanese picking up penalties on that start, one going back and starting again because he was over early.
Yeah,
but really,
and that's Sean Bourne, the most experienced player from Japan, Alec.
But interestingly, the Spanish sort of split really, both across those going left and those going right.
Yeah.
And remember, I should just explain the way we do the points for new viewers is at the end of this race with 20 boats, we add up each team's positions, and the lowest number gets the win for the race.
Yeah, and here in front of us we have Bandito, Alec. Bandito, he's actually one player we see a lot in the servers, and you know a lot about him, Alec. He's not one of the youngest players. He's 43 years old, and he's working as a shipping agent in Santander Port, but he's getting a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, one of the oldest. We haven't got two particularly young teams here. The other night in the quarterfinal, Netherlands were racing against Italy, and the youngest player was 14, and they had 3 teenagers on the side. So these two teams are not the youngest by any means, but still a wide variety of ages from like 20 all the way up into the late 40s. So first to the mark is Pablo and 0517 of Japan. But look at the red and yellow leading the fleet.
Yeah, but see here how many penalties coming into this mark rounding. Actually, they are really giving it everything. They know it's all about individual skill. But let's just look at Pablo up here. Pablo G. Portela. I know him very well from the eSailing community, but he's actually a substitute because Samu, he couldn't join in today. And he's battling against 0517, Alec.
He is, who is Junichi Hirai of Japan. And he's actually the owner and publisher of a magazine on sailing out in Japan. So he's very much part of the sailing and eSailing community. And a really aggressive move there, wasn't it? Coming into this bottom gate.
And see what the Spanish did. 5 boats cube, 5 boats, killing 2 Japanese in one move. That was great, mate.
Yeah, very, very great move from the Spanish players. Really building this sort of wall, which we see quite often in team and fleet racing, where they can work together. So they build a wall to block the player in front, and then they manage to capture him and give him a penalty.
So hugely experienced sailors out in the front. They know exactly what they're doing. You've got Joan Cardona, a pro sailor from the Sail GP circuit. You've got Cruiser, a multi eSailing world champion finalist. So they know exactly what they're doing, and they really are a solid wall for KGR to try and get through. But more significantly, if we look at the top 10, we've got 4, 6, 8 Spanish sailors up there, and that pretty much enough to give them the victory in this race as things stand.
It's switching all the time. We're seeing the top players from Japan, KGR, Seamanship. They are back there where they belong. They are very, very top player. And if this is the level they are doing tonight, wow, watch out Spain, because they really look into the game again tonight. Seamanship, female player from Japan. And she will be in action in the next race. Penalties here. The Spanish losing a lot of penalties in that mark rounding, Alec. So it's all about points. And right now it looks like Spain is losing a lot of them in the last part of the game.
Yeah, so the Spanish being slowed, obviously, as their penalties take effect. Will we see some of the Japanese fleet manage to make up some distance and maybe do some overtaking? And that could change the overall result, because it's now only the top 4 that are Spanish.
Yeah, and Bandido under pressure here. That's it. They're going after the 2 last, Hector Dominguez and Bandido. So they will slow them down. So
tactically, the Japanese are just trying to get the stragglers from the Spanish fleet. But Jean Cardona and Cruiser are across the finish line. So is Louis, the Spaniard from Mallorca. And now come some of the Japanese boats as well. So it's pretty difficult to call this one. With 20 boats out there, we're going to wait for the official result from our race officer. But all in all, I would say that was actually an entertaining race, and the Japanese by no means were dominated by the Spanish.
Yeah, I also think this might go to the Spanish, Alec, because, see, the Japanese are losing those battles with the boats in the rear. But again, interesting to see KGR from Spain in top 3. And it's not for funnies up there. And then we see Seamanship in top 10. So those 2 are very important players from the Japanese. And if they are so hot tonight, yeah, then everything can happen. And result came in, Alec. Who's taking the first point off tonight?
Well, our prediction was correct. Spain win it 85 points to 125. So in the end, there was quite a large distance between them. But I think the point that I wanted to make was that in the Great Britain-Germany quarterfinal, for example, which Great Britain romped to a 7-2 victory in, the bulk, almost the top 10 were all British in that first race. But I felt the Japanese put up a good fight, and I feel that they're confident to be able to take the fight to the Spaniards.
And when we're saying take the fight to the Spaniards, let's hear more about their tactics and who they are. Carlos Paz, the captain of the Spanish team. Welcome. Are you ready for tonight?
Yeah, we are ready. Of course.
And Carlos, you're not going to play yourself. You're just a team captain organizing everything. So how have you guys practiced for tonight?
Yeah. I think in Spain we have a lot of players, and I think it's good to have a captain outside the team. But really in the game we have 2 captains. That was Cruzolator and Joan Cardona. They are 2 very good players with experience, and they will do instructions on the regatta.
And Spain qualified as number 1 in the seeding rounds. So you guys and your team has not been playing in this format before. What are going
it's
to happen?
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some training, and I think that we have 4 or 5 players that play normally in TRL, and I think we have a really good team for this format. But it's the first regatta, and you never know what's happened when it's competition. We'll see tonight.
We will see tonight. The Japanese surprised everybody, winning over France, maybe the best individual team in the world. And the community says that Spain is the best team racing team in the world. So what to expect tonight?
Okay, we expect a hard battle because Japanese fleet are learning very quickly, and we saw that they win France team. That was one of the favorite teams, and we have some friends on Japanese team, and we know they wake up really early for do this regatta. But I think that the Japanese team is a good fight team. You know?
Yeah. All the best of luck tonight.
Okay, many thanks.
Here we go then. It's race number 2 of 9. It's in the starboat, and it's for the two top females in the team. So it's 1 against 1. It's a match race, and it's a much slower proposition than the first race, but it can be a really fascinating cat and mouse battle all the way from start to finish. And representing Spain is Patri Reino, who, to be honest, we haven't actually seen that much of on the eSailing circuit, but she's a hugely experienced 470 and 420 sailor. In her junior days, she was the 420 European champion and Spanish champion as well. And more recently, Thomas, she also won the Spanish eSailing Championship for women. So hugely experienced there. We'll talk about seamanship in a moment, but let's just focus on what's happening here. We're just a few seconds from the start, and the Japanese woman is probably where she absolutely wants to be, in control of Patri Reino right now.
Yeah, and Cube, let's just bring you in. That was a textbook start for the Japanese, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a really good start for the Japanese. I guess if the Spanish female player had a bit earlier start, then she would have gotten the advantage, because then the Japanese would have gotten her dirty wind and would be pushed down. But right now it looks like the Japanese have that she has an advantage now, and
Ooh.
she's getting clear from her right now.
Yeah, and she went away from Patri Reino, but this is all about this tack battle we talked about. She wants to go away from that so she's not slowed down. The way they can slow each other down is tacking and tacking and tacking, and then they can capture the leader. But seamanship is not for fun, Alec. She is 20 years old, she's a university student, has only been playing the game for half a year. She's practicing with KGR, and when we saw her against France, she was one of their top sailors. And I know the Japanese culture, so she has been practicing since last time. Hard time.
And in our interview with her captain, he gave away the fact that they knew exactly which races they were going to do a while back. They decide, a disaster for the Spanish girl. Yeah. Patri Reina gets stuck on the mark there.
Yeah, wrong mark rounding. And Cube, she went up the wind, and then the starboat is an irritating boat. Then it slows down.
Yeah, she made the mistake there by tacking underneath the ley line, hoping that with the speed and with the momentum that she carried, she would have just enough to round the mark. But well, it definitely did it. And as you were saying, the starboat slows down really fast, and this makes the Japanese now that she has a massive lead.
Well, I was saying that the Japanese have known for a while. They took a decision on who was going to sail which race, and have been practicing for some time. And Seamanship's practice has come off, well, very well, hasn't it? Because she's not going to get caught now unless there's some sort of disaster or a disconnection or something like that. I can't see Patri Reino coming back into it. So all the practice has paid off for Seamanship, but in the end, she was hardly challenged by the Spaniard.
Yeah, and it's actually unlucky for the Spaniard because, and this just show the skills and how much a player have been playing the game. A small tack mistake beneath the ley line and in a mark rounding, slowing her so much down that when she finally come around the mark, the wind pressure blew her into the mark and also gave her an 11-second slowdown. So it's pretty hard to come back. And that's how it is. So now Seamanship just need to do a clear race. But this, Alec, this is just showing what we talked about from the start. Wow. It's going to be a wild battle tonight. And we talked about that there are only 13 Japanese players in the game when the Nations Cup started. And there are thousands of Spanish players.
Well, I tell you, if Japan get through to the semi-finals tonight, there will be thousands more eSailors in Japan by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and this is I'm quite amazing, but it's two gaming cultures, Alec. We started talking about it before we went into this. Spain, known as a country with mobile playing, device playing in a high level, and Japan, they are known for being one of the first nations, together with South Korea, going real into esport. I remember in 1995 they were driving around in tour buses in the big computer games. So. It's
well,
amazing.
maybe this lot will be celebrating on a big super yacht or something. But right now, it's taken just over 4.5 minutes for Seamanship to equal the score overall as she crosses the finish line in a really convincing fashion. Seamanship makes it Spain 1, Japan 1, and we'll watch Patri Reino cross the finish line behind her. Quite a few seconds behind.
One, Alec. Yeah, this is going to be a good night, I think.
Yes, that was the big question, wasn't it? In the community, then in the chats, it was all about what do you think the result will be? Because, you know, GBR against Germany, which ended 7-2, everyone thought that was going to be quite close. There didn't seem to be that much discussion. This time the discussion is, well, Japan was so impressive against the French. They created such an upset. Could they possibly do it again tonight? Well, right now, we've had 2 races. It's 1-1. They are matching the Spanish head-to-head right now.
Yeah, and if you're sitting home in Japan or in Spain and want to play this game, this is how you do.
Race number 3, it's the laser. It's 5 against 5, 50 seconds to the start. Now, I predict the Spanish are going to take this. And the reason for that is that the Japanese won this race in the most incredible fashion, strategically, tactically, over the French. But we heard their captain earlier on say that they think the Spanish will have watched that race, which we know they did, and they will have learned what the Japanese tactics were. So they are actually not focusing on this race here tonight. We shall see if that's true or if it's just gamesmanship on the part of Vegas.
But Alec, see the lineup for the Japanese: Seamanship, KDR, Sean Bond, the three strongest player. So I'm just saying they are ready for it. But we have some new players from Spain. But here's the start. Let's just take it here.
Yeah, well,
Oi, John Cardona!
A big mess. A big mess here. And Jean Cardona, of all people, getting it wrong right into the mark at the pen end of the line. A disaster for him. And a penalty up there as well for one of the Japanese boats. No, it's for the Spanish boat. So really confused start to this race.
Yeah, but the Japanese doing a great start. And this is one of the new players I spoke about, Alec. We have not seen him much. We know a little bit about him. Maybe you can introduce him. Miguel Signesson.
Yeah, Miguel Sitges. Yeah. Nicolau, if we're going to be exact, studying industrial electronics and automation engineering. I think that's building cars, isn't it?
Yeah. But right
KGR, now, one of Japan's most experienced sailors, coming out over to this right-hand ley line ahead of Louis and Samuel Beneto, who are trying to chase him down.
Yeah, but he's quite in control, isn't he, Cube?
Yeah, he is quite in control, and we can see that as well on the way he is sailing towards that first upwind mark. So we saw him tacking way above the ley line, and why he's doing that is because now he still has the opportunity to make those pumps and to actually go down, speed up, and then hit the first mark really on the dot with full speed.
Yeah, but the Japanese are a little bit in trouble, Alec. We can see here, but they have KGR in the lead, and he might do a wind block, slowing down the Spanish, and then there's a gap to rest of the fleet, and Jon Cardona just coming back in the race.
Yeah, but at least they've got their most experienced guy out in front, and there he goes. He's trying to block and slow down the Spanish behind him, but that's...
yeah, and TK on the inside. Textbook, this one.
Oh, I don't know how that Japanese boat managed to sneak in TK30, sneak in on the inside. And if you're doing the maths at home, you need 27 or less to win this race, 27 points or less when you add up your final positions.
Yeah. Alec, let's bring in Cube. I know he's exploding of that one. That was a very good wind block, wasn't it, Cube?
It was a very good wind block, Thomas. And the ending was, was not that good as the beginning, but it certainly opened the game again. And now we have everyone, and this is what we love. We have everyone on the line, on the same line, straight towards that gate and ready to open the next battle.
First penalty to Spain.
Yeah, and now it starts to get aggressive as they reach the halfway mark of the race. Samuel Beneto, the 18-year-old from Spain, picking up a penalty. So to Sean Bond and Rausenlag of Spain. And now we're going to start seeing more aggression, more attacks from both sides.
Yeah, and this is, if you just joined in, 5 versus 5 laser. And it's Japan versus Spain. And Alec, it's living up to all the things we just talked about. What an exciting race we have here. And right now, it looks good for the Japanese. Just fast mathematics.
Yeah, the Spanish have a huge following, obviously in Spain, but around the world, just because of the class and quality of their sailors. But the Japanese, with every round of this Nations Cup, have created more and more fans around the world who love an underdog. And the Japanese have given them what they wanted: exciting racing and some shot results as well. Joan Cardona seeing off that Spanish boat. Here's KGR now getting in front of him.
KTR will watch Jon Cardona all the way. That's top battle. But what's interesting, Alec, remember we said 27 points or less. Right now, the Japanese are 28 points. So, the battle with Sean Bourne here behind, where is he? He's here on 9th and 10th. That is going to be very crucial. But let's see what the leading Spaniard will do. Miguel and also KGR, will they do a wind block? It's Miguel's turn. It's the Spanish turn to do a tactic. And they're not doing a wind block.
Spain first, second, and third. And now the Spanish really need to get as many of their 5 boats as far up as possible. Penalty on KGR. And I think Joan Cardona has... where's Joan Cardona gone? He's moved up into third.
Yeah.
So he had a good upwind leg. But still, with this final leg left, it's all to be decided.
Yeah, but what the Spanish did here was brilliant, Alec. If they're getting first, second, and third, they win the race. So Johan Cardona sneaking in there just won the race. Wasn't it, Cube?
Yes, they did a massive job there to come back. And actually, for the people at home, I see a lot of people asking themselves, I had a bad start. How do I come back? Well, just replay this game and look at Joan Cardona, how he came back from a really bad start into third place and securing the win for his team. It's a brilliant example of how to race.
Yeah, and yeah.
Victory then for Spain overall. They got the first 3 there, but victory in the race. They're still fighting all the way to the finish line. Yeah. It's a matter of pride for KGR and Rausenlag here. And in the end, it is now 2-1 to Spain.
And Alec, here we had an upwind leg where I said, oi, see the Japanese, the second upwind leg, they're in a very good position. And then we just saw Johan Cardona.
Johan Cardona, hugely experienced professional sailor, you know, eSail GP finalist, Youth America's Cup sailor. I mean, right from eSailing right across to real sailing, he's been there, he's done it. He's still very young though. You've got to remember that. So tactically, you know, he's got it. He has a huge understanding because he's competed against the best on the water, and he's in the team with some of the best e-sailors in the world as well. So yeah, he is definitely the biggest threat, I think, to the Japanese team.
Yeah, but we also have to say he was the first to qualify to the World Championship this year for individual players, and he did that in the J boat. And just seeing how strong he is here in the laser, wow! If I'm going to play against him, the 8 other players at the World Championship, I might go in and study a little bit more because that was amazing. And talking about amazing, Alec, we're going to speed up a little bit. We're going into the F50. And here we're going to see another big name coming in.
Six boats this time, and we're seeing Cruiselator, Louis, and Bandido of Spain. So Joan Cardona choosing not to sail the boat that he sails professionally, the F50. And for Japan, they're Captain Vegas, KGR, and Seamanship. And that tells me that the Japanese have come to win this. I wonder what strategy they have put together in training in the past week. But equally, they have got a huge battle ahead because Bandido, Cruiselator, really experienced sailors. Louis, experienced, but not like the others. So he might be, and you could disagree, Thomas, but I think Louis could be the weakest link here.
Yeah, but I know the top sailing coaching team. Louis is actually part of the 541 top sailing coaching team, and they are a team of coaches doing such a fine job, both in real sailing and in e-sailing. But see the beautiful view, the Spanish sail DP boat, the Japanese sail DP boat, 5 seconds, Alec.
Yeah, they look pretty similar, so we're going to have to concentrate to make sure we get this right. Vegas picks up a penalty. That's not a good start for him. Also one for Seamanship. So the Spanish already had a plan and are pulling that plan off.
Yeah, but
and it's KGR and Bandido round the mark first.
But
really
KGR
close there.
Bandido.
And the 2 Japanese boats are going to have to try and catch up.
But see KGR, And the Japanese, they have been practicing the battle again. Vegas with a penalty against Bandito. This is eSailing. See, the Japanese has been practicing how to slow down the other F50s. KGR just slowed down the whole Spanish Armada to have in Seamanship. Then I have to say, unlucky for Vegas losing the battle to Bandito, but they are going to battle each other all the way upwind, and then the other boats are battling each other.
Yeah,
Close
Bandito
call.
and Vegas. That's going to be a developing battle as the race unfolds. Here, right in the middle of the screen, we've got another one.
There we go.
And that's Seamanship. Seamanship and Bandito going head to head, and Seamanship coming better off. And over on that right-hand side, heading off towards that boundary, we've got 3 here. That's Louis, KGR, and Cruiserator. And they're gonna just maneuver now. They're gonna probably clip the corner of that boundary as they head towards the gate.
Yeah, and remember, it's all about getting less than 11 points for your team. And right now, because the Spanish has first and third, they have 10 points. So KGR needs to clip one of those here. Cruiserator or Louis. See, Cruiserator going after Seamanship. That was... Oh, Cruiserator made a mistake. So KGR ready to penalize Cruz. As we talked about, pushing down on 4th. Seamanship just managed to do that.
He could see the whites of her eyes and bottled out. That's what he did. Louis, through the gate now. KGR. Louis, the man who I said was the weakest link, out in front and leading by some distance. Seamanship picks up a penalty.
And missed the mark. No. Double penalty.
Oh, that's a disaster for her. And it was going so well. And it's what we always say, isn't it, in the EF50? It is such a fast boat that the slightest mistake, the slightest slip of the finger, and you lose it. And then it takes an awful long time to get it back under control. So it's Spain first and second now, but KGR's in the mix. So is Vegas. Can they slow them down and get Seamanship back in the race?
And now it's all up to Cruiserator not to do a mistake. We saw the Japanese against France last week. We had called the victory 2 times for France, 1 time for Japan. Then suddenly we saw magic. And right now KGR needs to do some magic. Louise and Cruiserator KGR on the same level.
Yeah, about. Nothing in it. I think this is the closest F50 race that we've had so far in the quarterfinals at this stage, because there will be another F50 race later on in the regatta, which will be 2 against 2. And if you think this is fast, wait till you see that. It's always mental, that one. Yeah. Louis and Cruiserator still just ahead.
Yeah.
And what's happening at the back? Let's have a look at Seamanship.
Yeah. Let's see.
Here she is, coming into shot on this left-hand side with Bandito to her left.
Bandito needs to keep her there, but I'm following this battle. That's the most interesting right now. KGR, can he come in front of Louis or Cruiserator? And Cruiserator is trying to covering KGR, and Louis has just so much speed that he's in front of Cruiserator. If he was slightly slower, then Cruiserator was in a chance to get penalized by him. So actually well played by the Spanish here. I think this will be a hard one for Japan to come back in.
Cruiserator, who has qualified twice in previous years to the World Championship finals, and last year didn't actually come because he went off to get married instead. How dare he?
Yeah. Then he didn't come to Bermuda with the rest of us. But this year he qualified and going to play also. But see there, KGR, penalty to Bandito.
Bandito.
But it's too late. First and second gives the victory. So Spain is getting 9 points and we have the Japanese getting 12. But again, interesting battle. And this just shows which teams we have to do with tonight, because they will not give out without a battle.
So it's 3-1 now. Remember, it's best of 9, so the first one to 5 wins. We have to see the Japanese start to get another victory under their belt just to stay in touch with the Spanish.
Yeah, and the next game coming up, the next race, Alec, let's just go into the format so you guys can see it. It's actually certified versus certified, so the 2 best player or the 2 registered player from their nation is going to battle. But let's just see the format before going in. And there we see it. Race number 5.
Race number 5, 2 against 2 in the J70. So it's our first look at the J70 in this regatta, our first of 2 races. And the certified players are, by that we mean they are, top sailors in real sailing, not just on virtual waters. So the quality and the class is really high. And let's find out who it is competing against who. Well, surprise, surprise, Joan Cardona and Hector Dominguez of Spain, and they will face KGR and Sean Bond. Again, 4 hugely experienced e-sailors.
And also 4 top-level sailors. This is going to be very interesting. And Alec, now I can say it, this race can go into a tie. So if you're winning and losing it with 5 points, then you're losing the regatta. So it's all about getting less than 5 points or don't win it. Here we go.
And what we always try and see...
Oof! Slow start for the Japanese. Both need to turn away.
Sean Bond looked like he was going to be over early, but he timed it perfectly in the end. Real boat control there to go away. And Joan Cardona now tacking off. Hector Dominguez also in the middle there. KGR starting off in 4th place. But early days. So what we see in this race sometimes is that they pair off, and then we have 2 separate match races going on. But that doesn't seem to be happening quite yet.
Yeah, and let's see it here, because I think the Japanese actually timed it well, but then both KGR and Sean Bourne came to the start too early, and KGR, he turned around and went to the right hand side. You also saw that cube, but are they in control again, or is this just a close call?
Yeah, actually, they got pretty lucky because, well, we had Sean Bond with his perfect start, and the only one who could stop Sean Bond actually was Hector Dominguez. But suddenly Hector decided to tack away and start covering KGR, and that opened up the space for Sean Bond to tack, to sail towards the middle, and now to control the 2 Spanish boats. So that move from Hector really opened the game back up for Sean Bond and put him now in a very controlling position.
Sean Bond, hugely experienced, really well respected within the e-sailing community. And now out in front, Katsuchi Imamura is Sean's real name. Hector Dominguez just tacking there now, coming into this right-hand ley line.
A good story with Sean Bourne, Alec. When Cruiser was on his honeymoon, he went to Japan, and Sean Bourne actually met Cruiser and his wife and sent pictures into the community where he invited them on dinner. So Japan and Spain are very good friends. And see, now he's slowing down. This is the battle we're waiting for. He needs KGR to come back. Let's see how it works. He's against Hector and John, and they're splitting up.
Yeah, he's trying to slow them down. He's trying to get KGR back into it.
To get on the inside. Oh, penalty. No.
Oh, that was close. Yeah. That was close.
Good fight, but also good fight by the Spanish.
Yeah, and Joan Cardona briefly ahead there. But it's worked to a certain extent, because KGR has closed the gap on Hector Dominguez now.
So
and they're jibing down. There's quite a wind shadow on the J70, and that's what's allowed Sean Bond to get close to Hector Dominguez and Joan Cardona. And now they choose opposite marks.
And here we see what I call a cross. See Jon Cardona on the outside, and then the Japanese are crossing, so KGR can attack Jon Cardona. See, he needs to oh, nicely timed by Jon there. And Cube, that was so close that this cross was winning actually.
Yeah, very close call, but I'm sure. I mean, Johan is used to those close calls. He's a really talented player, and he sails a lot in the team race league. That's actually a server where we only play team racing, so he knows what to expect from a boat coming from port in that situation.
The Spanish in control.
Spain.
Yeah. So Alec, it's going to be a downwind battle. They are in control. They're in contact. Oh, Jon attacking KGR. KGR with a penalty. Jon made the eSailing
that could
move.
decide it.
I'm not sure because Sean Bourne is coming in with speed. It's still a close call. See, he's coming in and can attack Jon Cardona. So their possibility is to attack Jon, make him get fourth, and let Hector win. Then the Japanese will still win it. This is going to be on the finish line.
It's going to be on the finish line, and we've seen the final downwind leg of these J70 races often decide the race. 30-meter wind shadow from the boats behind, and if they can catch the boat in front with that wind shadow, it's a possible 2 knots acceleration, which is what we're seeing now with Sean Bond. And can KGR bring it back?
But I'm laughing a little bit, Alec, because Jon Cardona is making fun with the Japanese. He's making Sean Bond following him, so Sean Bond sails into the wind shadow of KGR, and KGR really wants to help and can't do anything with it. Isn't it right, Cube?
Yeah, you're right, Thomas. KGR is actually making some mistakes there, and because he opened up he jibed together with Sean Bond, and that gave Johan the opportunity to just put KGR just behind him, and then have this sort of sandwich of the Japanese players.
Yeah. So a close call, a close battle, but Jon Cardona, again, an important player for the Spanish team.
Match point España.
Yeah, who had thought about that? But I have to say, it's very close races we're seeing, and now we're going into one of those races where everything can happen. We're going into the match race in between the 2 top players of each nations. So that will be from Japan, KGR. But who will that be from Spain? We don't know, Alec. We don't know.
We don't know. We're going to find out as soon as they join the server and we join the start of the race. But KGR, he's had some tough races so far in this quarterfinal, and he's struggled. I think the Spanish have watched that race, that regatta against the French that the Japanese had, and they are targeting the strongest Japanese players, and I think KGR is having a really tough time of it.
Yeah, it's a hard morning for him, but I can say to the Japanese that the chat out there, all the fans of eSailing, are cheering on Japan. But it's 4-1 for Spain, and now let's go in and see who has the best top player in match race.
And it's Cruiserlader who will face KGR. So we've got the Japanese national champion, the #1 in Japan, up against Spain's multi-world championship finalist. Who is going to come out on top? If it's Cruiserlader, then the regatta will be won by Spain and they will be through to the semi-finals.
But I know Cruiserlader, Alec. Can he steer his nerves? He will be sweating. He will be shouting. He will be jumping around home. And his wife will say, "What's happening here?" So it's all up to him. Let's see how it's going.
He locks the family in another room, doesn't he, whilst he's playing? Or they lock him in a room. I can't remember which way around it is. But he definitely gets very, very excited.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to go in for a fight there, but
no.
KGR just about in control.
Yeah, good control by the Japanese here, but Cruz, he knows what he's doing. So let's see how will this unfold. Cruz on the inside, but KDR on the outside. When he tacks towards the top mark, Cruz later needs to do a double tack to not get a penalty.
Really close this. And it is nail-biting stuff.
And it's going to be nail-biting because I know a secret. I have seen a lot of fights with match racers with Cruiserator. Something the community called Loki's Cup. And there see what Cruiserator did here? He pressured KGR out and took the lead now.
Yeah.
So very well played by him. But Crusader, he loves to be in the defending position downwind. He loves to defend in this boat and not attack downwind. So it was in purpose that he went in front, but the Japanese boat will come with speed.
Yeah, and just as we were explaining in the J70, the downwind often decides the race. That's also the case in the Star. So as long as KGR stays close, within about 35 meters, 40 meters of Cruiserator, he's in with a chance on the downwinds.
Cruiserator getting much more speed than KGR because KGR wants to be in a good angle to throw dirty air, and now we can see the speed difference. 0.5, 0.6, Cruiserator wants to go out of it, but there's not long down to that gate mark. We can see on the top left radar they are halfway, so way to go by Cruiserator. Don't you also think, Cube?
Yeah, we see KGR being really aggressive with those moves to stay on top of Cruiserator, and I think he's losing quite some speed because of that. And that might be the reason why Cruiserator is still being able to manage to hold his lead or even to increase it, I think.
Yeah, maybe he increased it, but let's see the mark rounding here. Now we're going upwind, and let's count the meters. He just held it. 18 meters, 16 meters, but he will control KGR upwind.
Yeah, KGR closed quite a distance on Cruiserator. He had a good downwind leg. But now the Spaniard has the advantage.
Yeah, and Cruz, he loves to be in the defending position. See there, he enjoys to go in and throw dirty on KGR. But if KGR wants to slow Cruz down, Cube, what can he do?
Yeah, so the thing he can do, he's actually doing it right now. That's stacking a lot, and we see KGR doing those fake tacks followed then by a real tack once in a while, just to make sure that Cruiserator has to do those maneuvers, and because he's doing those, well, he slows down eventually, and making sure that the gap between the two sailors doesn't increase.
Here we go then. They tack into the top mark for the final time. And I can't see KGR coming back this time, but simply because Cruiserator is so good at defending a lead in the Star.
Yeah, but I'm not agreeing with you, Alec, in this one, because they have around 25% more downwind leg than in the last one. So this time KGR has more time to attack Cruz. They're coming in, but Cruz is very experienced.
He's very experienced, and he's got a fair lead on the Japanese.
Yeah, and it's KGR 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 knots. He's going closer to Cruz, but he needs to go. Yeah, now he's capturing him. Now it's going fast, but it's all about how close is the finish line. It's halfway, so KGR needs to get close to him now. Oy. He might just manage it on the finish line, Alec. See the speed difference. 6.6, 7.2. KGR coming in with huge speed and will capture Cruiserator. Now it's all about who's best. The sushi against, I have to say, the tapas here. Whose fingers are best to do this one?
I think...
I think
Tapas has it. It's Cruiserator on the finish line in this match race with KGR. Spain win this race and they win the quarterfinal, and Spain will go through to meet Denmark in the semis.
Yeah. So that's how it's going to be. But there are still two very exciting races left.
Three very exciting races yet to come in the J70, the F50, and then we finish off with the absolutely insane Nakra 17 all-in race.
Yeah, and I know the Spanish must be very happy. They haven't been practicing and playing this format before tonight. But I also have to take my hat off for the Japanese going this far with 13 players in total playing the game.
Yeah, and it's a huge difference between Spanish eSailing and Japanese eSailing at the moment. But as you've touched on, and you can expand on it, Thomas, because you know your stuff when it comes to gaming. The Japanese love gaming. There's a huge gaming culture. It's different, though, from the Spanish esports culture.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure after this Nations Cup, we will see, and if this Japanese Sailing Federation really doing a great job here, then we will see thousands of players from Japan coming in, because gaming is so huge. And just this, that you can become a star in eSailing, means a lot for a Japanese gamer. We're going into next race, Alec. As I remember, it's 3 versus 3 in the J-boat. So let's go in and have some action.
Yep, 3 against 3. So we have Jean Cardona in action again. Patri Reino, who we haven't seen in action.
Yeah, the female player.
Yeah, so we haven't seen her in action since the Star match race. And Rausenlag is the other Spanish sailor. Up against Japan 3717, Green Peas, and 0517.
Yeah, and Rausenlag is... I have a funny story before you present him, Alec. Rausenlag was doing a club championship in Sevilla, and actually we covered that here in Club Nautico Sevilla, and in that club they have the Paparo brothers, a whole family. I think it's 6 or 7 family members played against Rausenlag, and he was in the lead of all races, and then they came to the winner takes it all, and he came 6th.
And he hasn't lived it down since.
No.
Here we go. It's race number 7 in the J70. The regatta's been decided, but the Japanese are certainly not down about it. And I think we're going to see them really battle to get their points up anyway. So a good start, a clean start all round.
A very clean start all around. And Alec, we can go back to Rausenlag, because he's actually not that old as I think he was.
No, he's only 25. But before you tell stories about him, he is training to be a lawyer. So you want to be careful what you say.
Yeah, maybe I should be careful there. But see here, let's focus on the race. Japan 37-17 is actually in a position where he can tack in front of Patri Reino, and then we see Jean Cardona with a battle with 05-17.
Well, and Jean Cardona already inflicting a penalty.
Yeah, and there we see the cross coming in as said. So right now it's Rausenlag from the Spanish team that needs to control the Japanese boat. But Jean Cardona also doing a great stuff. But he has to go behind 2 boats, not getting a penalty.
So Rausenlag over on this right side, closest to us. Green Peas, I think this, apart from the first race, I think this is the first time we've seen him in action.
Yeah.
In this particular quarterfinal. And then coming up from the middle, Patri Reino.
Yeah, and interesting what's going to do here, Q, because they're actually following each other quite well, aren't they?
Yeah, here you can see clearly that the Spanish boats are not unfamiliar with this kind of format, and they have lots of experience with it, so they know exactly what to do and how to come to that first win mark to be in the best position. So now we see them controlling actually every single battle, so we can see the 3 groups actually on the screen, and the Spanish boats are controlling every single battle of those 3 groups, so that's a perfect situation to be in to win this race.
Joan Cardona just never gives in, does he? He's always fighting. He's always looking for a chance. And so is Rausenlag over on this left side. But it's Joan Cardona battling with, I think, is that Japan 3717.
Yeah. But see here, Rausenlag slowing down just to slow down Greenpeace over here.
Yeah. So. Well, for the Spanish, this is very important training at the highest quality in preparation for their semi-final against Denmark. Oh.
Yeah. Greenpeace with a penalty against Rausenlag. Way to
go.
go.
Coming in around the inside. Greenpeace trying to squeeze in and does so on the inside. And Japan 3717 getting it all wrong.
Yeah, sailed in front of 0517 to avoid to get a penalty by Rausenlag. So very, very good control by the Spanish. And also here, Johan Cardona slowing down the Japanese all by himself. He doesn't, he's inflicting 2 penalties. Amazing stuff by him. And this is giving his 2 teammates a chance to sneak away. So, Cube, that was actually very good. Why did the Japanese get those penalties, both of them?
Yeah, so it all started with that penalty on the first upwind leg that you pointed out, because that one actually allowed the Spanish boats to be in that 1-2-3 position, and that's, if you get that spot on the first mark, then you have this massive lead, because you can just give up the third boat, let that third boat penalize the other ones, make sure that the Japanese boats slow down, and then let your 2 guys in front just sneak away and win the race.
Yeah, and I have to say, when you're saying that, this is the 5th penalty Johan Cardona just made. He's having fun out there. He's the shark today. He is the guy eating all the fish, trying to come up to the top fleet. Wow, 3rd race where he has the big impact.
Yeah, he is bossing it tonight, and he is showing who is boss. And the Danish team, who will face Spain in the semi-finals, will be watching this, and they need to get together tomorrow morning and discuss how they're going to control Joan Cardona, because I think he is the biggest threat to them.
Yeah, but again, we can continue saying top names from the Spanish team, but I also have to say, when we saw the Danish team play last time against Sweden, that was actually sweet out the Swedish, because wow, they sweep them off, because that was an impressive textbook race by them. But this is also textbook race by the Spanish. And Cube, help us a little bit, because Johan Cardona, his only task here is to make sure to penalize the Japanese, isn't it right?
Yeah, you're right, Thomas. It's very easy for them. He basically can't do anything wrong. He did his job already in the first downwind. So now the only thing he has to do is make it even worse for the Japanese players, so to say. But if he doesn't, then I think this lead, and we can see it right now, that this lead is still big enough for the 2 Spanish boats in front to make sure that they can finish 1 and 2 and take this victory.
So a victory coming.
Look at that. Yeah, look at that now. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I mean, for the Japanese, who started so well and who have challenged, every race, they've fallen a bit behind in this one, to be fair. But on the other races, they have come really close and they have pushed the Spanish. It would be a shame for them to finish with just the 1 victory on the board.
Yeah, because they're actually picking up a fight here and doing great stuff. But I can also understand if they're flattening a little bit out, because Johan Cardona, I can say to you, the chat goes wild with him. They're all writing Johan Cardona, but they're also saying that he's not allowed to bring in these team races points into the Team Race League server. They're getting points for team racing, because in this case, he will get a lot of points coming in for all those penalties.
So they're not transferable.
No, they're not transferable. This is the Nations Cup.
So his opponents, in the team racing servers already were getting worried, but they'll be relieved now. All right, so here we go. Heading downwind towards the finish line, and it looks like it's going to be a Spanish first, second, and third. And Patri Reino is going to get a victory.
Yeah, great stuff by the Spanish female player here. Coming back after that, I have to say, unlucky match race against Seamanship and then getting a victory here. That's a great comeback and might also boost her confidence in the next racing, and especially when they're going after Denmark. Then the females will have a huge position in that race. Rosenlark coming in, he can penalize her, but he's not doing it. A gentleman of Spain not penalizing her own female player.
It'd have been a bit silly to do that just in front of the finish line and risk their top 3 positions.
Yeah, but we can say 6 points for Spain, 1 point for Japan. Not 65, but 6. Great race, great stuff, and very well raced by Spain.
I was looking at the seedings, for the semi-finals, and we have seed number 1, 2, 3, and 5. The quality is going to be awesome in those semi-finals, and really difficult to call.
Yeah, really difficult to call the semi-finals. It's going to be a blast what we're going to see there, but no matter what, we're going to see top in the finals. And this is what I like with the formats of the seeding they're doing, that we are sure to see the top players going all the way. But again, I have to say, only 2 races tonight we can see the difference from Spain and Japan, or else the Japanese team actually bringing the fight to Spain. But Spain just have this small extra that the Japanese team don't have. And Alec, when we are saying
it's the fast, crazy boats now, all the way to the finish. The last 2 races, we're going to have the EF50, and then it's going to be the Nakra 17. So time to hold on to the sofa, hold on to your gaming seat. It's time to have some fun.
Yeah, and I can say to you, I love this next EF50 race we're coming in. I have almost baptized it the day the Japanese killed the French, because this race we called the victory for the teams, I think 5 times in total. And Cube, he almost resigned of his job as a commentator because he also called the victory. And then we saw the Japanese team doing something we haven't seen before, slowing down Sintiat from France, the team captain, 2 times in a row, and winning this for the Japanese. And that was why the Japanese are in this quarterfinal. But let's get ready. They are ready in the servers.
Yeah, I think this was indeed the race that took Japan to the quarterfinals. It's not going to take them to the semi-finals, though. This is for pride, and for the Spanish, this is a training exercise. It's Ramon and Hector Dominguez up against Sean Bond and Sohei Nippon. 45 seconds to go, and they'll just be sort of milling around for a little while before they start to get the wind into their wing sails to accelerate them away. And again, if you're joining us for the first time, you're new to this sport, this is the EF50, the fastest boat out there in eSailing right now. It's a foiling wing sail boat from the Sail GP circuit. It's awesome. And it's 15 seconds to go. And now they start to power up. They've got their foot on the pedal. They're accelerating away. And they've kind of split into pairings here, with the Japanese just ahead as they hit that start line on 0.
Oh, she's too fast, Nippo. And penalty to Sean Bourne also. False start to Nippo, penalty to Sean Bourne, made by Hector Dominguez. What a time start from for Spain. It looks like the same race as we had against France last week. Same start, same play. So let's get ready to see them come back and do the same. We cross our fingers.
I could almost see that happening. I was thinking the Spanish are looking very dangerous coming up behind the Japanese. And so it is that Ramon and Hector Dominguez are out in front already, building up a lead of around 40 to 50 meters.
Yeah.
But never say never. And just watch the Japanese.
Oh,
Let's see if
penalty
they.
to Ramon. Sailing
Oh,
outside
unforced
of
error.
outside of the boundaries. This is opening it all up again, because now we can see Nippo coming back.
Here we go again.
This is Sean Bourne and Nippo's race. Cube, do you want to call it already?
No, I'm sorry, Thomas. I'm not doing that again.
And here we see them coming in. Ramon in the lead. Hector first, Ramon second. But Ramon, unforced penalty by him. And let's see, there's a boundary here, Ramon. Don't go out of it, then you will get penalized. This time he succeeded to turn it. But see, Sean Bourne coming.
I know what Cube wanted to say, because he's also rational, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was about to say that the Spanish have the advantage here. They're really experienced, and it's going to be a tough fight back for the Japanese. That's what he wanted to say. He just didn't dare.
No, but let's go back to that start, Alec, and talk a little bit about that, because that actually almost sealed this game, this race. Ramon, he only won that one because Nippo, he was too fast, too close to the starting line, and got a false start.
Well, Nippon has virtually stopped coming through that gate.
Yeah,
he got that all wrong.
But also the feeling, Alec, they lost the race, and they did the same mistake as last week. Whereas Chambon, he's the more experienced player. I've seen him race so many times on the servers that he's never giving up. He's one of the few sailors I know that almost never disconnect because he gets a bad start or a bad race. Then he just continues and tries to do the best to come back in it. But I have to say, and this time, let me call it, because then it might change everything. It looks quite dominant for the Spanish team this time. This time, the Japanese, if they're coming back, then I will owe a burger both to Alec and Cube in this case.
A burger? At least a beer.
There we go. Hector in the lead, Ramon coming in here, and they are following each other. And Cube, let's talk about the wind. They're doing it quite well, the Spanish, aren't they?
Yeah, Thomas, this looks like they're reading this wind shifts quite well now, going both to the right-hand side with this left shift that we can see on the radar as well. And they are just hoping for that shift to die out once they tack.
No,
but...
Ramon again! No. What is he thinking about? I want to know who Ramon is, because he needs to know there's 100 players from Spain that are ready to take his position on this team. And this is the second unforced penalty. And now Chambon can come back in the race and do like we saw last time. This was the crucial moment where France lost it, and Chambon can do it again.
Surely not. I think Ramon's been on the... Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, Ramon's been on the sangria since they sealed this victory, I think, 2 races ago.
Yeah, and Ramon,
but he needs to clear his head, because he's got Sean Bond and Sir Nippon right hot on his heels.
Oh.
And Hector Dominguez is off. He's off. He's heading towards the finish line. But what about Ramon and Sean Bond? Can Sean Bond catch him? It's going to be tough. Ramon's going to round this mark and then accelerate away and reach to the finish. Yeah. And it is going to be a Spanish first and second. Ramon pushing his luck there, really. But in the end, it is Spain 7, Japan 1.
I just thought we were going to see a repeat of history there. My heart was pumping. But let's go into the next race.
So here we go then, the one final race. 7-1 to Spain. Japan, they're going to want to get a second one, really. They want to make it 7-2 just to make the score look better.
But again, the surprise tonight was if the Japanese was going to take the victory against Spain. We have to say that both seating-wise, numbers of players, and also how much they have experience in this game. The Spanish Championship, we were covering it here on eSailing TV. hey, they played it for 2 weeks to find the finalist. So they know so much about this game, and this just showed the difference from 13 players from Japan taking the battle to the 1,000 of players of Spain. But again, the result is not showing the difference in strength, but I understand if the Japanese is a little bit tired and also a little bit demotivated in the last 2 races. But Alec, we're going into the last race, and if you're watching this just joining in, then or you want to work with a game like this, then here is your opportunity.
So yeah, a great opportunity to take part and be part of Virtual Regatta there. They are recruiting, so get in touch with them. And let us now sit back and if you're at home, why not crack open a beer? Or if you're in Japan, have yourself a coffee first thing in the morning. Sit back, put your feet up and enjoy this completely insane race. 20 Nakra 17s flying around the course. And it is Spain against Japan. Nothing to lose, nothing to gain here. This is for fun.
Yeah, but I also have to say, what a performance by 2 players tonight. Seamanship from Japan, I need to bring her forward again. What a good race. And Jon Cardona. So
we'll talk about them in a moment, but let's follow the start. Jon Cardona going off screen to the right there. Lag following him. A few penalties and a few early starts spread across both teams. So not a significant start there that's going to take is going to decide the race or anything. But right now we've got Seamanship, who you were talking about. A really great performance from her, and she has made a big difference to the Japanese team throughout this E-Nations Cup.
Yeah, and there this just shows how fast the boat. She was tacking up towards the top mark and need to go behind TK. But this is all about how good you are to race it yourself. Let's see what Jon Cardona is doing. He's going to the right-hand side. Huge wind shift coming in, Cube. Will this not slow him down?
There is indeed quite a big wind shift coming in, but it's well, I think Jon Cardona, well, he had a bad start and he started with a penalty, and that was his only option to get his free wind and to come back into the race. So it was all or nothing for him, and it looks like it's paying off quite well for him now, as we can see him there in the far right corner. So it might be a very good decision by him to go to that right-hand side.
Yeah, it looks like him and the Spanish female player Petit Reno is taking the lead, and they will do that. See there, coming with speed. Jon Cardona, well timed. He will be the leader after this mark rounding.
Once again, as we're used to seeing him, I mean, he's becoming dominant really in the eSailing world, isn't he? In all boats and in all events. And it's a Spanish first, second, third, but here come the Japanese. And there were a couple of, there was one Nakra there that almost turned around and went back again.
Yeah, there. It's Pauline. Pauline is 53 years old. He as he says, he loved to watch eSailing on the channel because that really motivates him to do more. He called himself an amateur. We got a nice mail from him last week where he just wants to say thank you for motivating him to play. So great stuff by him. Suhai Nipo is here, but see, Alec, Seamanship. Fourth position.
out in front again. Suhi Nippon, closest to us. He's a jazz musician, you know.
Yeah.
Plays the bass. Yeah. Playing second fiddle here, though, to Spain. I couldn't resist it.
No, you couldn't.
It's late now. It's late at night. But
Morning.
out in front, Joan Cardona, Patri Reino, and Cruiser later. But yeah, Seamanship. I think that she is a talent we're going to see more and more of. And she's only been playing eSailing for, 5 months, something like that, and already challenging some of the best.
Yeah, and interesting, if there's going to be a female competition once, only for females, where will we see her? Because she's a very strong player. Third place, good upwind, and she's getting closer and closer to Jorn Cardona and Patri Rino up there, and I actually think she will sneak into second. And Cube, this boat, the Nakra, it's all about the upwind. At the downwind, you cannot do much with it except sailing into the wrong wind breeze. Isn't right?
Yeah, it's exactly right, Thomas. Downwind, like you were saying, the only thing you can do is basically just find that wind gust and sail right into it, because on the upwind you might have a disadvantage of sailing in too high wind pressure, which slows you down actually in the Nakra. But on the downwind, the more wind the better, and the wind shadow, it really doesn't make a big difference in this boat downwind.
No. But Seamanship is going to battle for third, fourth, and see who joined in the battle. Cruiselator, and he gets a penalty by Petrino. That is, I have to say, is that a snake coming in? We have seen many animals around the world where the female just eat the male just after they have been having fun together. And here we see the same. Great stuff. Great stuff. So female versus female for second place, Alec. Everything opens up.
I think I know what you mean. Patri Reino in second then, and Seamanship, the battle of the two women in the teams. In comes, who was that, Cruiser? No,
Rausalag. He wants to save for Patri Reino.
Also coming in to challenge. Patri Reino's going to get it, though. Yeah. Here comes Seamanship for second. Cruiser later in third.
Seamanship fourth. But again, great performance by the Japanese. I have to say, I'm falling in love, eSailing in love with her, because that is really, really great performance there.
And there's Tacitus. We haven't seen much of him tonight.
No.
Our Roman official.
Yeah. And normally we see him in a high level, and here he ends up last. But let's get the confirmation from Cube. But I'm ready to call this one. No, I cannot call it for Spain because of Romana Vector. I will call it for Spain, but we will get Cube to make the calculation for us. But what a race. And here we can see Cruiselator get that penalty at the top mark. And so close, Seamanship is taking that third away from him for her. And lucky for Patrino, Rausalag comes in and saves her. What a night.
I can confirm the winners were indeed Spain. And in the end, it was by quite a margin, actually, 84 to 126, which brings the final score. So what that means is that Spain go through to the semi-final 8-1 against Japan. So a huge victory. In fact, I think the biggest victory of the quarterfinals. No, Denmark
also
Sweden 8-1. Yeah. So equaling that Danish score. And interestingly, Spain will play against Denmark in the next in the semi-final in their best of 9 regatta. The other semi-final is, of course, Great Britain and Italy. We'll look at the draw again in a moment. But should we just reflect briefly on what was... It was 8-1, but it was still an absorbing quarterfinal, wasn't it, between these two? Because the Japanese put up a really good fight, and strategically, tactically, they just weren't at the level of the Spanish. But they were entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, there were, and I have to say the first 5 races was actually bringing in the fight, and then it was like the air went out of the balloon, and the Japanese. It's very early Sunday morning in Japan. Hats off for them choosing to play there. They could actually choose to play 9 in the evening their time, and this afternoon in the afternoon time against the Spanish team, but they actually agreed with the Spanish to say, okay, let's do it in the evening. Let's do it together, because the teams are talking together when to play when they're picking a time. But again, I have to say I'm still amazed about the 13 warriors from Spain. It's almost like a movie where Vikings, the 13 warrior, is going into it and beating the dragons. But today the dragon beat the Japanese.
They did.